Huh?
We want 3,000 up front, and then you can work out a payment plan. I think it was
Yeah,
250 a month.
250, yeah.
Well, as for me, I plan on taking the ICA, but just not right now because
Yeah,
I'm still trying to focus on finishing up my LLB program. And I was advised that if I take that on and continue with the LLB, it's going to be a little bit too much for me. So I think I'm going to hold off. Maybe I'll consider, once I'm done, and we'll see what happens. But what I will do is I will enroll with ACAMS because I want to try to get that underneath my belt as well as I make this transition from security to client supervision department.
ACAMS, I saw someone that yesterday. How do you go about getting into that?
You could just go basically Google it, just type in ACAMS, and you'll pull up to the requisite site, and they will just go ahead and take you through the navigation. The thing about ACAMS is that you have to you can't automatically just jump in and take the ACAMS specialist course. You have to take credit courses, some of those courses are 3 credits, 4 credits, and build your way up. I guess once you take enough credits, then you are able to go ahead and sit the ACAMS specialist. That's the actual certificate, you see.
All right, noted, man. I'll take a look at that after next week.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I hope our fellow classmates, was able to get some good information with respect to this review process, to aid and assist us as we get ready for this exam. So usually when it's time for me to take an exam, my anxiety level I could know the information, but just because the word is called exam, there's something about just knowing that you have to take an exam that drives me crazy, man. So I'm hoping for the best and hoping we could have a fruitful review process this evening.
My brother, I think that's all of us.
Is the ACAMS a US-based exam and the IC is a UK one? Does anybody know? I think that's what I heard.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the ACAMS deals more with US legislation.
Hi, good evening all. How are we doing today?
Good evening.
Hey, good afternoon, Ms. Good evening, Ms. Bullet.
The fretting period has begun a week in advance.
Hi, good evening all. How are we doing today?
Nervous.
Nervous after you made it? No, man, all the nerves gone, man. It looks like we made it, so y'all should be celebrating 1 week away from success. Okay, that's how you look at it. Y'all can do it. We made it this far, we can make it all the way. I think that 2 persons are not here, so we'll just give them 5 minutes, so everybody will be in place and we don't have to repeat ourselves. Okay, that's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Great. So we're just waiting on Julian and Sharenda, and there we go. There's Julian. Okay. So 6:05, we'll start.
Miss Bullard, good night, everyone.
Hi, good night.
For this review, what is the outline you expecting? I just want to know. So when we start, I think I go in first, but I just want to know. So when we start, I just given the condensed version of what you wanted.
Okay, y'all didn't want Miss Bullard saying no points. Okay, Bea, very good. Okay, so your first question is it's on the Egmont group. So of course, that's the mandatory question. All other questions, the other 4 that you have to answer are only 10 points. Your question is the mandatory and it's 20 points. And so how we would want to answer that is, of course, we already know it's about the Egmont group, and then it's probably going to be something related to the Bahamas as well. So just like we did in our homework, we want to do an overview of the 3 cases at the back. And I'm telling you, with this mandatory question, persons lose a lot of points because they either don't do the overview at the back or they don't talk about the Bahamas. Remember, when you read these questions, they are 3 parts. So read the question and make sure that you answer all the parts. So it's key that you give us an overview of the 3 questions at the back. And then it's key that you answer the question that it asks about the Bahamas. If it asks you, what can the Bahamas do to ensure that those cases that happen overseas do not happen in the Bahamas, then we need to know what the Bahamas can do. Or it may ask you, do similar cases happen in the Bahamas? Then if similar cases happen in the Bahamas, that you say yes, for example, and then we want examples. So because it's 20 points, it'll be good to have 3 cases from the Bahamas that are related to bribery and corruption. And there are lots of cases, okay? Lots of cases out there. So we expect like about 2 pages. Overview of the back, given a good explanation. Sometimes students condense it too much, and sometimes they run on and on about one case and nothing about the other 2. To get full points, you must talk about the 3, full overview of the 3, full overview of at least 3 cases in the Bahamas. And then make sure you answer what the question is asking.
Okay.
What would you suggest? Or what would you recommend? And why you would recommend it?
Are you
Okay.
saying that the question asks that?
Yeah, if the question asks that.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, we get so caught up, people always miss a part. That's a 3-part question. What happened with the Eggman group? Is the Bahamas a part of the Eggman group? Yes. Does bribery and corruption happen in the Bahamas? Yes. And then whatever it asks you, what would we do to curb this? Something similar happened? Yes or no? And of course, we know, especially with the case about the taxes, we know that every time we go to a government office, in order for them to expedite the service, what they want.
Money. A
Tip.
bribe.
Oh, right. So
Motivation.
yes. And
Lunch
so
money.
all of that falls under bribery, right? Okay, so is that clear, Bria, on what how you need to answer, what you should include?
Yeah, so I definitely did an overview of the first case, and then I have like a little small overview of the second case. I was starting to think that I was doing the wrong thing, so I didn't bother go into the third case. We definitely have the examples for I definitely have Bahamian examples.
Okay, but if you want full points,
Then the third case.
yeah.
This question, honestly, it was hard when I was trying to do it for the homework.
But if you did it for homework, then but like I said, I told everybody, do it for homework, get your grade, and if you've already gotten your grade, perhaps you just need, to answer the 3rd part of the question. You could literally in your mind copy and paste what you did for homework. But if you didn't do it for homework by now, you should have already completed it. So you can take it off your list. Right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to complete it for homework, but I definitely get a grade.
Okay.
That was exactly what I was missing, the overview of the cases.
Okay.
Sorry, let me mute my mic for a second.
Okay. Okay, so just, I think we're just waiting on 2 more persons. So we'll start at 6:07. We'll start in 3 minutes. So just make sure that you have all what is required for your question. And we want to give no PowerPoints, no sharing the screen, 10 points. Everybody else, just 10 valid points that we could go and research. And you could probably give us one example of a case, or just an example, but the key is to read the questions and answer with the question asked. Okay?
Ms. Bullet,
Yes.
Mencia, listen, I didn't get a chance to print this item. Can I still share my screen?
Okay, sure.
My apologies for that, Bob.
Yeah, but we don't want message overload.
Okay,
Okay, the only question that should have a lot of information is question 1. I mean, the mandatory question. Everything else, 10 points. Give us an example of what type of case you would use, or, and then persons will go and do their research. We just want to steer them in the right direction.
okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so all of you should have out your review sheet, and please take notes, and this will help to decrease the amount of studying that you have to do. Because when you start to do research, there's thousands of papers out there, thousands of very long papers that you'll probably fall asleep reading. Okay, so we just want to stay in the right direction, and we don't want you to get information overloaded. For the persons who have never been to the Institute, all of you been to the Institute, so we know the location. Everybody's good with location. Gerardo, you picked up your book, or did somebody collect it for you? Okay.
No, I'm here. I picked it up. I know what the institution is.
Okay, so everybody should know the location of the Institute. You park across the road on Victoria Avenue. Miss Dean will be expecting you next week, Tuesday, which is the 31st, from 6 to 9 p.m. So the exam is 3 hours. You should have already spoken to your offices, and hopefully they offer you study leave. If they don't offer you study leave, ask for a half day. I don't know, sometimes you have family responsibility leave, or even a vacation day, just so that, like I said, a lot of people show up and they say, Miss Bullet, I fight the traffic. I picked the children up from school, and then when I reached to do the exam, I was blank. So please, speak to your significant others and persons that help you. And if you don't have time off to study, then please take a half day. At minimum, take your lunch hour, 4 o'clock, so you could be there and on time. Because I've had people say, oh, I get stuck in traffic and we late, and we lose time. Okay, so when you get there, please take your ID. We will make sure you don't send your cousin to take this test for you. Please take your ID, and please bring no books, no bags, your ID and a pen. Miss Dean will provide you with paper, and as well as the exam. And there's no space for books, bags, your car keys, a pen, and your ID, so she can verify you.
Ms. Bullet,
Yes.
it was unfortunate because I was under the impression, that you would have been the invigilator. I've never seen you. I've only heard the voice.
Okay. We didn't meet way back in the first class.
What you mean? I told you I never took the introductory course. I jumped straight into the intermediate.
Oh, okay. Understood.
So I've been talking to a voice for all these weeks, and I don't even know how you look. I must be past you several times, and also I don't know who you is.
Well, I'm so sorry, Gerardo. I will
Jesus.
not be there on the 31st. I am very, very sorry.
Oh Lord.
But we will be. I'll make an arrangement so we can meet. One day I can pull up the central bank and ask you. And
Okay.
so we'll know each other. Because of course I in your network now and you in my network. So we gotta make sure we know each other.
Yes, ma'am, most definitely.
Okay.
Gerardo, if you want to pass this exam, it's in your best interest and all of ours that she is not the invigilator, nor is she present.
Because
Take,
I will
take,
be putting
take,
people out.
take good advice from me, sir.
Yes, sir, got you, got you.
Okay, Julian, I hope you mean that in all good faith. But please don't bring any cell phones. Persons have bought cell phones and they try to put them on vibrate and it disturbs the class. Persons have been removed from class because they had a vibrating cell phone. We had somebody who was office paid for the course and they called and they said, why haven't we received our grades yet? And we said, well, she got removed for cheating. Okay, so this review sheet is not allowed. It's not an open book test. You have to study and don't bring any papers at all. So, she said, well, Miss Buller, what was the point of us having review class if we couldn't bring the sheet to the exam? So, that was her argument. But she was removed. And in order for you to take any other class at the institute, you have to go to counseling for 6 weeks. Okay, the same thing at UB. You go to counseling for 6 weeks. And once the counselor feels that, I guess you've been rehabilitated and you know the seriousness of what happened, then they sign off and they allow you back to class. However, she did not show up to the counseling. And when her office called, we said she was removed from cheating and she was let go. Okay, and so it's not worth it if you have a lot of information, you have the material. Once you study, I promise you, you'll be successful. If you're not successful the first time, if at first you don't succeed, you try again. Okay, and we normally don't have. We've had one person who have had to do it 3 times. Normally, persons get it on the second go, and 80% of the persons get it on the first go. Okay, so don't stress yourself out. It's achievable. You can do it. Okay, and this is a very, like I say, intellectual class. Miss Dean will be expecting you. And the key is organization. If you have study leave, don't tell anybody who will want you pick their children up from school or go to the food store or run their errands. Okay, lock yourself away. Turn the TV off. Don't go watching a marathon on the TV. And no kids, no cooking, no cleaning. You want spring cleaning your house, you are studying, okay? And then you also need to unwind, okay? So if you have that full day off, please, only if cramming works for you, you cram, but other than that, just try to relax and feel good and then plan your celebration for afterwards, okay? But have some uninterrupted time. And I promise you, you'll see the difference, okay? Okay, that's all the advice I have. Any questions? Okay.
Oh, I just want to ask if I guess if we have time, if we could go through the multiple choice on the classwork.
Okay. We can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so you want to start? Everybody has out their papers and they ready to take notes and ask questions? Because Ms. Bullet isn't taking this exam, right? So give as much information as possible. Okay, so Julian, you're saying you may not be able to stay on. Would you like to go first then, Julian? Is Julian there?
Yes, ma'am. When you say go first with what?
Right now, because so we were starting with number 1. I know you're number 7, so I can allow you to go start.
What is this in reference to? Because I didn't review the YouTube video of last week's. You gave us a task.
Yeah, I sent out a
nobody
review
shared it
sheet.
with me.
Yeah, the same thing we did in intros. I sent out a review sheet where you were supposed to come with 10 points.
Oh,
You didn't
that's
get the
what that,
review sheet?
I believe I did, but I didn't.
Okay.
I was thinking it was just the review cheat for the exam in
Right,
terms of
yeah.
us uh, just trying to look at it and go over the processes.
No, remember
I didn't
in
know that. I
intro?
didn't know that we had to come to class and present that.
Okay, so now that you know, do you want a few minutes, and then perhaps when you are ready, you just put up your hand and we allow you to go. So in the event
Sure,
you need to leave.
sure.
Okay, all right. So just let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with number one, Bria.
Sorry. Okay. So for the first case, boy, I hope I hope these points make sense. But so the first case, I just noted that a PEP, a business associate, and a third person were involved. Of course, the main points is bribery and corruption, money laundering, and terrorist financing. The PEP would abuse his position and gain profits. Once he received his profits, he would transfer the remaining to the terrorist group to be laundered, or the process of transferring to the terrorist organization was how he laundered. I wasn't really clear on that part of it. I guess if someone want to clarify, they could do that. When they weren't able to cash the checks, they would convince others to cash the checks in other jurisdictions, which is how they got caught in the first place. I think it was a $6,000 check.
Okay,
They
so
also
let's start off with which case are you referring to? Which one of the cases, and where it occurred? Which region it occurred in?
So this is the first case with bribery and corruption. It is in Bahrain. It's in Bahrain, but it occurred throughout, the transactions occurred throughout other Middle Eastern countries.
Okay, so when you start your essay, start with that, because I've had my cross marker take points off because Ms. Bullitt understands, because I would have read your homework and I say, okay, I know what they mean, and so even when I'm doing homework, sometimes the cross markers are different. They say, but it doesn't state this, right? So
Okay.
make sure that you identify the case properly that you've given an overview of.
Okay. Okay, so the last point I had was they also use family members to conceal funds and launder the money, pretty much by asking people if they were interested in doing it. That was concise enough, or you think I'd lose
No, because
points?
I still don't know which case you're talking about, and no points.
No points.
No points.
I mean, honestly, my problem is all of these cases was talking about the same thing. But okay, I guess I need to go in more detail about the case. But they don't even call names, so how could I be specific?
Yeah, but you have to give an overview of what the case is about and what happened.
Okay, well, I probably need to do that.
But look at your homework. When we discussed,
And
even though
the
you
problem,
submitted for homework, you did a
well, this
attempt,
was,
and I gave you some feedback, and you was like,
yeah,
okay, so.
I just didn't get a chance to go back over it. And
Okay,
then
so you want me to go to number 2 and come back to you?
No, I could go over the last part of the question, but I mean, I won't do it during the class, like find the overview of each case. I'll definitely have to do this probably tonight and then send it back to you just so everybody could have it too. Because I honestly, I guess somebody who did good on the homework could give their overview. But this was my problem with the homework. I didn't give an overview of I didn't give a detailed overview of the cases. I just do like one broad thing. But like I said, I have the examples related to the Bahamas and the Bahamian cases.
Okay, so what you were saying is you were going to do the overview and then send it to the class afterwards.
Yeah, because you're saying that the overview that I have
So what did
isn't.
you prepare? But you, okay, we had this review class, this review sheet from a week or two ago. What did you prepare for today?
That was the beginning of what I was saying, and you say it wasn't enough.
Okay,
And
but
then
that's only one case. Let me hear what you would say about the next case then.
I have less than that for the second case.
Okay, so do
But,
the overviews and then we can send it to the class.
Okay, hold on. Let me read one part of the second case, and let me let you see if that's enough information for the
No,
second.
I don't want you to bring it because
No, I'm bringing it and reading
the
like
whole point is to get a good to reduce the amount of research. Unless you go into it and write it out properly, persons will have to go into it and do it themselves. So the whole point of this is for each person to do it. So you cut down the amount of research you have to do. So we want it done properly, and then we'll email it to everybody.
Okay, but this part is, I mean, when I was initially reading the second case, this was what I was gonna say as a point. But I don't know if it's now I really don't know if it's enough information.
Okay, so that's why I say do it properly afterwards. Send out the 3 overviews after. So
Okay.
tell us about the Bahamas. What would you do to curb bribery and corruption in the Bahamas, and give us an overview of cases currently in the Bahamas.
Okay, so it was a lot of techniques and methods for the flow of criminal money in each case. I did specifically break down each method, but I could just do it by the case too. So the first one I have is purchase of high value items with cash. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of cases with that.
So what's the case that you have to go with that?
Well, it was a case that we had referenced in the first class about, oh gosh, I think the last name is Grant.
Okay, Bria, we'll come back to you. Figure some stuff out, and we'll come back to you, okay?
Okay, I mean, all right.
Yeah, take some time and we'll come back to you after we do 2 or 3. Kendrick, are you prepared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Actually, I think I may have a little bit too much, so what I'll do is I'll just cut it down. Okay, I had sanction frameworks, sanction categories, and COVID-19. I know we had discussed that previously in the class, how for the homework, not the homework, but the classwork question for this particular chapter. Sanction compliance program that includes 5 essential components. I know that page 28 lists more than 5, but this is the 5 that I've chosen. One of the first aspects of the compliance program or sanction framework you should have is management's commitment. Management must be committed to the process of protecting the institution. For example, this is the one that I use. All financial institutions must ensure, or management, that being the board, ultimately must ensure that all members of staff do AML training at least once a year. Okay, that's my example for that, for management's commitment to that. Secondarily, risk assessment. Every management team and institution must do a risk assessment of their services and their products. This entails examining all factors that are involved in the business, such as the clients, the products, the services, supply chain, counterparties, transactions as well. Thirdly, third part of our framework, we got to have the proper internal controls. What I mean by that is the procedure, the policies that need to be in place to ensure that there are no loopholes that can be used to compromise the institution nor compromise the industry itself. This can be accomplished by using aspects such as WorldCheck. Locally, we use the cause listing, OPAC, LexisNexis, UN watch list, and Ms. Bullard, I don't know if you heard of this one called Simply Risk.
No, I've never heard of that.
I heard about that one last week. I'll email you on that one. Fourthly, the fourth aspect of the framework, you gotta have testing and auditing. It's important to have testing and auditing so it can show you where the faults actually occur. And then once you realize that there might be a negative impact to the institution, clog that up. Another aspect is auditing. That means bringing in an external auditor who can test your network, who can test, for example, how we've discussed in class, Ms. Bullard, you said that you would ask individuals if they know this particular thing. Do you know what the policy is? Do you know what you're supposed to do in regards to if something happens? What is the policy saying? How do you communicate? Is there a clear line of communication that has been established by the institution, and do you know this? So you bring in an auditing team to basically audit your institution to see that if everything is running smoothly, because you do not want to breach one of the sanctions, one of the sanctioned nations. And finally, for our framework, we're looking at training. When we start talking about training, every individual, like Ms. Bullard said on numerous occasions, should be trained and know what their roles and their responsibilities are. Once you know what your role and your responsibilities are as an individual, and then you can actually, the institution needs to train you in that aspects, in the aspects of your job. So the training is important, because another thing, one thing that training does, it makes you accountable. If you don't have the training, that's one thing. But if you have the training, it makes you accountable for any mistakes that you might make. Sanction categories, all of our sanction categories came out of the UN resolution, Article 41. Okay, and it says the Security Council may decide what measures not involving armed forces. Okay, they won't do anything that they can do to persuade you to get it right. Remember the three aspects of why a place may get sanctioned, a country. Bad behavior, they can spank you. Secondarily, they will get you back in line. And three, if you threaten the safety and peace. Okay, so again, all of this comes out of Articles, Security Council, Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, Article 41, excuse me.
Okay, and what was the last thing you said? Why would they sanction a country, Kendra?
The three areas, the last one I said was to ensure peace and safety.
Okay, and the one before that?
The one before that was to, I'm trying to give you this out of my head, believe it or not.
Okay.
Giving you this out of my head. But I do know is to keep you in line, to curb the behavior.
Okay.
And I may have used the wrong term.
No, that's fine. No, you used the right one. I just wanted you to repeat it so everybody would hear. And then I wanted to ask, so what country was recently sanctioned to curb their behavior, to ensure peace and security?
That would be the area, one of the categories is conflict resolution, right? I would say that would be Russia.
Okay, very good. And again, this is where comprehension comes in. So I want you to be able to relate it to the real world, not just read the book, but I want you to understand it. Okay? So very good. Russia.
And what they did to them while I'm here, I'll just hang out. They have, like Libya as well, when we're dealing with
leave Gaddafi alone, please.
Say again?
I say is Libya Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Yeah, leave Gaddafi alone. But anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I used it because it was a resolution. If you're looking at counterterrorism, it was resolution 748-883 Because of the Pan Am, it was resolution 731 and 748, and eventually it spawned into 883, whereby they say, listen, you need to denounce terrorism, and seeing that you basically encouraging this type of behavior, we can hit you with this sanction. They froze all of their accounts, all the petroleum money is similar to Russia as well, because Russia got hit this way as well. If somebody had a foreign bank account where they used to pay Russia for the oil, they froze those. Nobody can. Libyan Airlines cannot fly into U.S. airspace, Canada airspace, UK space, EU space. It can't fly into anything. They can't order parts. They can't ship out their petroleum. They can't do anything. And basically, similarly, it's Russia as well. They basically put those on freeze as well. That's conflict resolution and counterterrorism. We speed through this. Protection of civilians. We could look at Resolution 1970. Go back to Libya again. What was happening? They were actually killing civilians. Okay, so they said that this needs to cease. This needs to stop immediately. And seeing that they hit them with the basic. I don't think Libya could take much more. Fourthly, non-proliferation. That's Resolution 223 that deals with Iran, and basically how they wanted them to bring their nuclear program back down, okay, to loosen the tensions as well. So that's Resolution 2231. Democratization, that one is Resolution 940. That deals specifically with one of our neighbors in Haiti to actually reestablish the legitimate government and put the infrastructure such as the army, the armed forces, and certain sectors back into play. And those on the Security Council would be responsible for funding that as well. And finally, under COVID-19, we saw that Cuba sent out doctors, as Julian told me. They came here as well to the Bahamas, but they also went out to Italy, South Africa, and Andorra. We saw that Venezuela also received a bunch of aid from China. It was a lot of aid that they got. And also Iran got some help from their petroleum neighbors, that being Qatar, Kuwait, United Emirates. They gave them millions of dollars. They provided aircrafts, they provided the aid and the equipment as well. That concludes my presentation. If anybody want me to shoot what I have to them, send me an email and I will shoot it out to you what I have. Because there's a lot, it has a lot more information in it.
Okay, and I just, okay, thank you, Kendrick, very good. I just want to say, you know, a lot of people say sanctions are foreign and they try to stay away from it, but the sanction questions are very easy. The tax questions, again, people think that's foreign, but very easy to answer. And persons who answer those questions normally get full points. Okay, so don't shy away from those two. They are the easiest ones to answer. I want to say also, if there are 3 sanctions questions on the exam, answer all 3. If there are 3 risks or 2 risks, answer, you know, normally you'll already have the background for it. Okay, if there are 2 tax questions, answer them. Okay, so
Ms. Bullard,
yes.
I saw the emails popping up. Put it in the group chat. Now I'll see if I can get those out as soon as class is over.
Put what in the group?
No.
No, you mean the, okay, you're talking to the class.
Yeah,
Okay.
put the emails in the group and I'll shoot them out as soon as we finish.
Okay. Okay, very, very good. Anybody have questions for Kendra? Okay, so this session is for you to prove to Ms. Bullard that you're ready to take this exam. Okay, and so I don't want to give you the answer. I would have hoped that, you know, most of you were in intro and so you know how to review classwork, but I think I also said it a few times, go out, do research as much as possible and come and speak knowledgeably. So, you know, I will feel comfortable that you understand how to answer the questions. Okay, so that's what this class is about. Okay, so for those of you who have not fully prepared, please be prepared by the time we get to your name. Okay, Next we'll have Eddie, and Eddie had number 3 as well as number 8. So Eddie, go ahead.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes. Okay, so this relates to question 3. Okay, so I had risk framework, risk appetite, and risk rating. And so essentially, the risk framework would be the mechanism in which that is used to assess or mitigate against risks. And so when you're looking at the whole overall risk framework, the essential approach is using the risk-based approach. And the risk-based approach is where companies should use or put in programs or policies and mechanisms in place to mitigate against money laundering and terrorism financing risk. And so that would include putting in any particular program that you feel that would mitigate against your particular risks that you foresee could happen. And this works in cohesion recommendation 1 of the FTA 40 recommendations, where they implore all countries to have a risk-based approach to their network. The next would be the risk appetite. And the risk appetite essentially is what the company would determine what risks they are willing to take on as it relates to certain products. And so as you would see, certain banks or certain institutions, they would not do business with PEPs. They would not deal with accounts or companies that is cash intensive. They would not take on any type of product that they feel would bring on too much risk for their company. And so essentially the risk appetite essentially is a KYC mechanism in which that you determine based on they look at the product, and they would say, well, based on this particular product, we're not going to do business, like I say, with PEPs. We're not going to do business with certain countries who have a high risk rating, such as Russia, or certain countries or sanctioned countries. That they're not going to do business with companies or persons operating from persons from different sanctioned countries, like I said, Russia, Iran, Syria.
No, Eddie, watch out. Russia was not a high-risk country, even though it was sanctioned. I going back, okay, because you lose points for saying that. Now, you were correct when you said that businesses don't do business, you know, companies say we don't do business with Russia, you know, because it's communist, but it's not because it's high risk. So if you say that, you lose points. But I look into on the website right now to see if the rating changed for Russia, because it was lower than ours the other day. Let's see. And another thing which you can say is that the framework is threefold, where you have the risk appetite, the risk rating, and the risk assessment.
Yeah. There are 3 parts to risk framework, which is the risk appetite, risk assessment, and the risk rating, which forms the whole framework. Yeah, so Russia, I think, I guess with Russia, because it is sanctioned.
It's sanctioned, but guess what the rating is? 5.24, lower than the Bahamas.
Lower than Bahamas, okay.
Yeah, so don't say Russia is high risk.
So don't conflate the two.
Yeah, because you can just say that a lot of companies do not do business with Russia. Because they just say it. We don't do business with Russia because the Canadian banks are very conservative, and because of their, I guess, secrecy laws and stuff like that, they don't do business with them. Because when I was at Royal, we didn't do business with Russia.
With Russia, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. So, so they yeah, like I say, so that would form, and also too, banks would not do business with web shops, as we saw when even after when the gambling or the numbers industry got legalized, you saw that a lot of banks refused to do business with those particular entities because of the
And I
because of the
say,
risk.
you say why? Because why?
Sorry? Sorry?
Why? Why?
Because of the risk appetite that is associated with gaming. Gaming has, especially with
No,
the money
you
laundering,
said it, yeah, you said it earlier, because it's too cash intensive.
too cash intensive, yeah, and
Intensive,
also too
yeah.
right, there's also the possibility of money laundering, as you know. Persons can use casinos, web shop casinos as mediums to money laundering. As you, I don't know if anyone ever aware that persons could deposit money from Nassau onto the island account, and someone in Long Island could go and withdraw it. So, and there is no KYC in terms of, where the source of funds, where it came from. Once the $200 show up, someone else could just go and just withdraw it or put it on someone's account with no questions asked. So that there is one of the reasons why, apart from it being cash intensive, as the why certain institutions don't take on certain products, and also too, there's also bearer shares as well. Those also, because you don't know who the true owner of that particular shareholding is, and so that there can also be risky as well. All right. And the last one would be the risk rating, and the risk rating would be the well, essentially what would the mechanism, or what would happen in terms of I know with the Basel, for instance, with the Basel Committee, they would have a particular risk rating for particular countries based on certain risks, or how they are rated by the Basel Committee. And so that there would also affect the whole aspect of how well that works in cohesion with the risk appetite, because like I said, the risk rating is almost the rating that you would get based on certain activities that is taken on by the company.
Mind us some of the categories that would be on a risk rating, Eddie?
Okay, so
Nationality,
yes,
country in which you do
nationality.
business.
Yeah, country of origin, nationality, the particular entity itself that is doing business with that particular organization, and the type of industry that is involved.
Right. And so after we I guess score all of those categories, then we determine if you are high, medium, or low.
High, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then the high, medium, low, the risks, and based on that will determine whether any company would like to take on that particular
Business.
risk or product.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So tell me about the Basel Committee methodology.
Now with that, I looked at number 3. What I didn't realize, I said, oh, so I also get number 8. So number 8, I could speak of, just doing, I'm knowing it. I know with the like I say, with the recommendation one, with the Basel Committee, the essentially what they would, their methodology, that they would look at, like I say, the overall, the country itself, they would use different methods in which they would come to a conclusion as
Look at
to,
the screen. Look at the screen. How many domains?
hold on, let me. Yeah, 4 domains. 1, 2, 3,
5.
5 domains, right? Mhm.
Mhm.
And so this is what they would use based on the metrics here, or the different under the different domains that they would use in their methodology. And so they would look at quality of the AML framework, the corruption and bribery risks, the financial transparency, public transparency and accountability, and political and legal risks.
Okay, good, very good. Anyone have questions for Eddie? No? Okay. Eddie, now you was finished, you had something else to add or?
No, no, I don't have nothing else. That's me.
Okay, very good. I hope you're taking notes because you're very, very quiet. You're scaring me.
We taking notes.
Okay. Okay, good. Like I say, this is the opportunity to, you know, to show that you comprehend. Okay? So please, like I say, prove that you comprehend. I should give a grade for the review class going into the exam. To make sure,
Bonus,
you know,
bonus.
bonus, yes. No, because it's to help all of you, and so I want each of you to, you know, take some time and do your research so you can prove that, you know, the last 10 weeks you retained something. Okay, so very, very good so far. Let's look at Ashley, AML deficiencies. IMF, the FATF, the CFATF deficiencies.
Good night, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I think, who's the first one? Oh, IMF, okay.
Mhm.
The International Monetary Fund, they conduct financial sector assessments and provide technical assistance to financial sectors. After September 11, 2001, it has carried out a pilot AML and CFT assessments in 41 jurisdictions. And since then, the IMF and FATF has partnered to focus on activities that evaluate and assess AML and CFT frameworks. The FATF, Financial Action Task Force, is an organized global organization focused on money laundering and terrorist financing. They're known basically as the watchdog. It sets international standards that aim to prevent illegal activities and anything that basically causes harm to society. The FATF has established 40 recommendations, and the 40 recommendations were first developed in 1999, and they have been revised 3 times since its inception. Let me see, sorry, what else? The FATF recommendations set out a comprehensive and consistent framework which countries should implement to combat money laundering and terrorist financing, as well as the financing of proliferation of weapons and of mass destruction. Now, the CFATF, which is the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, the task force is an organization with about 24 states of the Caribbean, Central and South America, and they have agreed to implement common countermeasures to address money laundering. And it was also established as a result of meetings convened in Aruba in May 1990 and Jamaica in 1992.
So no points for where them meetings was held. No points.
No point? Okay, all right.
So much information. Remember,
Okay.
we want to stay on what's their purpose.
So the
And
main
just that
objective,
they are the regulator, because surprisingly, I think it was on the exam in intro about the regulators. And people who work for the regulator couldn't answer that question. They attempted it and I fell off my chair. They work for the central bank and didn't know who the central bank was. They work for the Securities Commission, they work for the Insurance Commission and the Gaming Court. They didn't know. So we have to put that question even back for them. I don't know if it'll be on this exam, but we had to bring that over again. They can't go into ICA not knowing. Okay?
okay.
Okay.
So the main objective for the CFATF is to achieve implementation of compliance. And they basically enforce that the 40 recommendations are being done throughout the Caribbean to prevent and control money laundering and combat the financing of terrorism. So they don't issue their own standards on their own. They follow directly from the FATF, basically. What else do I have?
You could go on to the deficiencies, because we only need to know
Okay.
their purpose and that they are international regulators.
Okay, so the deficiencies now, and I'm gonna base it off, well, it's based off of the evaluation done in 2015. The Bahamas.
No, from the mutual evaluation report.
The
of
mutual-
2017.
Pardon?
The mutual evaluation report of 2017, that we
17.
were deficient in 22 of the 40 recommendations.
Right, we were compliant largely of 18, and we partially compliant of 21 and non-compliant of 1, so that's a 22. So
Okay,
some of the deficiencies were that there were a number of suspicious transaction reports were filed by institutions in the financial sector of the Bahamas, and there was a substantial presence of higher risk activities in private banking and trusts. The time to respond to international cooperation requests, they felt as though it could have been improved. There were many unverified facilities in the domestic banking sector that still exists or existed at that time. The Bahamas assessed their terrorist financing as low. There have been no terrorist financing investigations, prosecutions, confiscations, or convictions. So the legislative framework they found to be, for terrorist financing, they found to be deficient. And
what
also,
did the Bahamas do? That's a good one to use. What did the Bahamas do?
but terrorist financing,
Mhm. The CFATF found our legislation to be deficient. What did the Bahamas do? They updated all the legislation in 2018.
you say they updated all of them?
Yeah. The whole anti-money laundering framework. So they did a review, and the terrorist financing legislation was updated.
Okay.
Based on the recommendations that the CFATF made.
And they did in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with risk assessments.
Mhm.
It wasn't being enforced, and so when they updated the FTRA, they made it mandatory in Section 5 of the FTRA. There was no sanction framework in place, and so they updated the laws to make the sanction framework mandatory, and it's controlled by the regulators. So each regulator goes out to their licensees and ensures that they do not have any of the sanctioned persons or countries or on their books.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at the CFATF report, there are key findings on, like, the second you go to the introduction, and then there are key findings. And so you pick 3 of those, and then you go and Google and find out exactly what the Bahamas did to fix it. The newest story about that is we have now 40 out of 40. right? And we are one of the, with 3 countries in the world to have 40 recommendations updated. Is that correct, Eddie? Is Eddie there? No? Okay, yeah. So we are like 3 or 4 countries in the world that have 40 out of 40. So that article should give you a lot of information as well as to what we did in the last months to fix. Okay. Tax evasion was also not on our books. So they updated the penal code. And when they did it the first time, they only said tax evasion, and it only covered tariffs, custom tax, or VAT. And so we were blacklisted, and then they updated it again in 2020 to include if you evaded international taxes, you would be prosecuted as well. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so look up, if you're gonna answer that question, look up the 2020, the 20 out of 20, or the 40, sorry, the 40 out of 40. We just achieved that in November 2022.
Definitely look that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Ashley? No? Okay. Gerardo, tax avoidance, 40 WAW9 and WBET. Now,
All right,
this is one of the easiest questions on the exam. However, people get confused. Please, after you write this, please ensure that you have it correct. Avoidance versus evasion. Okay, please don't get it wrong. Quite a number of persons get it mixed up. Go ahead, Gerardo, and they mix up the examples as well. Don't mix up the examples, don't mix up the definition.
Yeah,
Okay.
because one is legal and one is illegal, right?
Right. And I don't, people just get confused. But this is
Yeah.
easy 10 points.
So tax avoidance is Trump not paying his taxes, $1 billion, whatever $1 million taxes. And tax evasion is Wesley Snipes.
I would not use Trump, Eddie, because Eddie joking,
Hey,
Gerardo.
Trump is not guilty of anything.
Gerardo,
No.
go ahead, please. Don't confuse the people. We being
All
serious.
right.
Don't confuse.
Well,
Don't
that's
mention
fine.
Trump. Don't mention Trump, Gerardo. Don't mention it. Stay away from that case. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. I just wanna, once again, like you reiterated, to to stress the importance of understanding, the difference between, tax evasion and tax avoidance. We stress the fact that, tax evasion is lawful. So let's firstly understand that. With it being lawful, we look at it from an onset of legally
Gerardo,
reduced. Hi, can
sorry,
you hear
say
me?
that again. What is lawful?
Tax avoidance.
Okay.
Tax avoidance is lawful, right? Most successful people, most people, most corporate entities, they know how to meander the system, right? They may have, attorneys or, persons who are in that industry that are able to give them the best advice relative to, paying your taxes, but just not all your taxes. All right. So we can understand, that tax avoidance, the legal term, which is lawful, we can reduce that to like legally reducing your taxable income. Okay. We stress on tax evasion, right? Tax evasion. If you think
Give us
about,
an example of avoidance first, please.
well, your tax avoidance, lawful is basically, you may generate whatever income per capita, and you're gonna list, you're gonna be, I guess, Ms. Bullitt, you're gonna be somewhat truthful to the IRS in your reporting, but there are gray areas, right? Based on consultation, how you can, I guess, cover up your financial steps, correct?
Correct. Correct. Okay,
Right,
and let
I
me tell
mean,
you, let me tell you
yes.
one way. When we come to customs, we have
Oh,
some
yeah.
duty-free items. And
Yes,
so we
ma'am.
can have the duty-free items packed together, and we can say, you're not to charge me duty, these are all the duty-free items. An easier example is an energy efficient washing machine is 5%. The general or the regular one is 25%. The same thing with energy efficient cars. They you can buy an energy efficient car and you'll get less duty than buying a regular car. So that's a good example right there of avoidance.
Ms. Bullet, sorry to
Uh,
interject, Gerardo. Can I ask this question?
Go ahead.
Ms. Bullet, so if we make up a hypothetical to prove the point, that's fine, or does it have to actually be something that is law?
But see, there will be no case against tax avoidance because tax avoidance is legal. You see what I mean? So there will be no case for that. There, however, will be lots of cases for evasion. So in tax avoidance, you have to say, I will buy an energy efficient car or refrigerator or washing machine. And that's how I would avoid paying a higher tax.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead, Gerardo.
Yeah, so your tax evasion, obviously, we understand that that's unlawful in the eyes of the law. And basically, that comes in the form of, illegally, illegally, underpaying your taxes, or, just not paying your taxes at all. We could use an example like, like Ms. Lauryn Hill, Lauryn Hill, which is an American, performer, singer that is. She was in the group, I believe, the Fugees, and she made millions and millions and millions of dollars. But having said that, she did not report on, on her financial statements relative to the IRS, and they probed into her, her financial standing, and they found where she was not, paying any taxes. Right, she was basically all the monies that were being generated from, from her touring, all the monies that were being generated from, sales of albums, so on, etc. She, she just didn't report it. I believe Wesley Snipes is in that same situation as well. Most athletes, most entertainers, what they try to do is they in order to cover up their reporting, they usually they give back a lot to charity, Miss Bullet. That's the way the United States government looks into, I guess, their charitable organizations, and that's like a tax write-off, right? Just like how we know filing bankruptcy, right, in America, basically it's not that you're broke, but it's basically to protect your assets. I believe that's another form of facet how rich people, right, protect the assets, how they use the system for their gain. Okay.
Correct, because there are lots of concessions, but again, you have to be very savvy and read all the laws. And they even have a book out saying Taxes for Dummies to tell you how to legally, not pay some taxes.
That's fine.
Right. Okay. So very good. So we want to ensure that we keep avoidance with the hypothetical example, and then the evasion with the real life example, like you said, Lauryn Hill.
That's fine.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Very good.
Your W-8, your W-8, which is basically identical to your W-9. However, the wording, so you don't want to misconstrue that your W-8 and or your W-9. It's worded similar, but the W-9 has a different indicator, whereas the W-8 is more so, as we should know, is a certificate of foreign status for the beneficial owner. And that's another form as compliance officers and our money laundering officers that we should be familiar. So, Ms. Bullet, I remember some time when you said that, if we're in that position to be a compliance officer or a money laundering reporting officer, we have to understand, the products, the risk that's associated. We have to understand the clientele. We have to understand the geographical location, because if we're all, focused on just the money, and we fail to understand and or troubleshoot, you know, the institution that we
Risk.
work for, the risk that's associated with it, right? We could find ourselves in trouble because if you don't understand the reporting, if you don't understand the reporting laws, right, in America, let's just use that for example, because we are very close to the United States. You know, you could find yourself, you know, in some deep waters.
In jail.
In jail.
Right, in jail.
In jail, yes, you're in jail, right? So we have to understand, and for American purposes, for the IRS, for Uncle Sam purposes, right? That W-8 is a tax form. If I'm correct, it's for like tax reporting.
Right.
Okay, basically, you know, it's you know, you're making monies, you know, in a foreign country, and we know that, you know, in a foreign country because of I believe it's the CAFTA, correct? The CAFTA, right?
You know, FACA.
FACTA,
Yeah,
foreign account tax compliance act,
Nice.
which
Yeah.
basically, you know, it speaks to the fact that, you know, banking institutions have to report the income of U.S. citizens in that jurisdiction, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
But these may be the multiple choice questions. So the easiest way, and if all of you have a pen, write this down. I just, the name is important too. So W-8 is for foreign citizens to the United States. So it's the foreign tax form for US, for foreign to the United States citizens. So if you're from the Bahamas, if you're from Canada, if you're from Australia or China, you are foreign to the United States. W-8 is what you sign.
That's right.
If you are an American, a US citizen, you sign the W-9. If you are a foreign company, you sign the W-8 So that E on the end means entity. And so that's how you should remember it. Okay, so W-8 for individuals, W-9 for companies and individuals who are US, and W-8 for foreign entities or foreign companies.
Another point I want to make is I believe the actress, well, not actress, I think she's a singer. You know, she she got into some trouble because, you know, she was a permanent resident here in the Bahamas, Shakira, and Shakira, you know, she will being pursued for, you know, for tax evasion, right? You know, her point was where she was, I guess, spending a lot of her time within the Bahamas, you know, and her investment share in the country of her origin, I believe. I'm not sure where she's from, but the country of her origin, she's from
She went
Spain.
on tour in Spain, but bought a house here.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And they were looking at the time spent relatively here in the Bahamas, but she was doing a whole lot of touring. So their point was like, hey, listen, you know, yeah, you may have a home in the Bahamas, but, you know, you still are responsible to, you know, I guess the Spanish government for taxes owed. So, you know, you need to try to rectify the situation, because she was domiciled in the Bahamas, but a lot of her time was basically touring. But she, I guess, tried to use the Bahamas as a front to say, well, you know,
yeah, she isn't liable to Spain for any taxes, and the law says if you spend 183 days or more in that country, you have to pay that country taxes. So she was on tour for more than 183 days. And, you know, she'd been through all of that. They gave her a very hefty fine, millions of dollars. She had to pay like $5 million fine. And do you know she's in trouble again right now? She tried to do the same thing again. So she's in trouble right now. So that's an excellent tax evasion example to use.
And as Ms. Bullets stressed, that the you know, the W-8 with the E is for the, you know, well, W-8 is for the foreign citizens. That's domicile, or that's domicile or living in the US, or what is that?
No, W-8 is
W8
foreign,
Ben,
yeah, foreign to the US.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
from
foreign to
Bahamas,
the US.
yeah, foreign. So they
'Cause I'm taking notes too.
non-US citizen, a non-US citizen.
Non-US citizens, okay.
Yeah, so that's
Non-US
W8
citizens.
ban.
Mhm.
US citizens and US companies sign a W9, and non-US companies sign a W8 ban E.
Mhm.
Okay, a lot of people get those confused.
So for clarification, Ms. Bullitt, so if, say I was to have, I guess, a green card, but I have my Bahamian citizenship and I'm living over there, or if I open an account in the Bahamas, I would have to fill out a W8 then.
No, there's something called US indicia, and they consider US indicia to be a driver's license, a PO box,
Mhm.
an address, and definitely a green card is a citizen. So they would encourage you to get a tax lawyer, and
Mhm.
that tax lawyer will work with the IRS to probably get, if you are from two countries that pay that, like if you from Spain and the US, Spain will want some of your tax as well as the US. But if you from the US and then the Bahamas doesn't have income tax, so they may not give you a they may not give you a tax break, but you will have to prove to them that you did not spend more than 183 days in the US. But you would have to get a tax lawyer to have that in writing for your financial institution.
Okay.
Financial institutions always say we do not give tax advice because we are not tax lawyers. Because we'd have to know the law of every state. You see what I mean?
So can you give me, I'm just trying to get clarification with W8 bans. Can you give me an example? You said foreign citizens to the United States.
Right. So everybody from the Bahamas, everybody from Canada, from China, from Russia,
But they are,
anybody who is not a US citizen is foreign to the US
okay.
or non-US citizen.
Ms. Bullitt,
Yes.
I think this is gonna be the first, if this is on the test, I think this is gonna be the first question I answer.
Okay, and that's very good, Gerardo, because I always say answer the easiest question.
Yes, ma'am.
Answer it first because you may get overwhelmed, and then you can even answer the multiple choice last. The key is you have to put your name on every paper and you have to label your questions properly. Sometimes Ms. Bullitt is be guessing, and please, if you have that script writing that join on, please print. Because I don't have no interpreters to interpret writing. Okay? And I am also not allowed to give out grades. Please don't call Ms. Bullitt. That's we say Ms. Bullitt with my grade is. I can't tell you. Okay, because I mark and then there's a cross marker. Or I normally let the cross marker mark first so I could negotiate some points. Like for all the people who say Russia was high risk. I say, come on, they didn't, this is what they mean to know. Okay. So yeah, answer the easiest question for you, but don't forget to do the multiple choice. A lot of people is just be like, they ain't bothered or they run out of time. Okay. Essay form. Okay, good. Any questions for Gerardo? Okay, guys, Gerardo, very good, very good. Okay, let's keep it moving. I hope you're getting some good notes.
Just Ms. Bullitt, as it relates to finding a case for tax avoidance, I mean,
there's no
when you
case
say
in
there's
tax
no
avoidance
case,
is
but
legal, so there's no case. So you have to explain it with an
yeah,
example. Yeah, there's no case for something that is legal.
but the example I
Right?
gave was a good one. They said that he was avoiding, wasn't paying his fair share of taxes. When they checked, Trump was he already paid
Eddie,
according to
that
them.
is the worst example ever, and you will get no points if Trump anywhere on that paper.
All right.
Trump is
I'll try
still
to
being investigated.
Yeah, I'll try and look.
He has been no guilt
Can we
proven,
talk about
ultimately proven.
yeah? Can
You all
we
want
talk
full
about
points?
Amazon?
Don't put Trump name on this paper because that is not the truth. When you go to fact check Trump, that is not the truth.
Okay. What about Amazon? I know Amazon, they were saying that, you know, Bezos, well, the company itself didn't pay $1 in taxes, you know, federal taxes or whatever like that, because they were using the tax code, you know, because of they were only paying the state taxes and not the federal taxes because of the loopholes in the tax code. So I can look at research something like that.
If you want a headache, but they wouldn't have been charged with avoidance, Eddie. They would have been
Yeah,
charged
yeah,
with
yeah.
evasion, but they won their case. Correct?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the case.
Right.
It was just
Yeah.
it was normal. Yeah.
Right. The same
Mhm.
thing with the Aguilar. The Aguilar 1 year brought in washers that cost $635. The next year, he said the same washer cost $300. And so, of course, they confiscated the washers and charged them with tax evasion. And then he was able to say it wasn't him, it was the shipping company that gave in the wrong invoice and that made a mistake. And he would go personally himself and get the correct invoices.
Okay.
That's a case
Yeah.
too, you could read it online.
My God.
Yeah, you have me typing in the background, so
Yeah. Yeah, but make it as easy as possible.
yeah.
Energy efficient, this is how I avoid. That's it, and move on. But if you want to, all those people that went to court, if they were proven innocent and got, it would have just been avoidance, but they were initially locked up for evasion. The charge would have been evasion. Okay? Okay, very good, very good. Okay, excellent, Gerardo. Thank you very much. Okay, Jalika, we want to talk about culture, the MLRO job description of wearing too many, like what would be a challenge with the job description? They wear too many hats. Is Jalika here? Oh, Jalika in here? Okay, so last week, luckily, we would have covered culture. Okay, and remember, words like tone from the top would be important. A whistle blowing question could possibly be under culture. We should all know what the whistle blowing policy states or what it is. We know that we live in a world where you're ostracized if you tell the truth. Everybody is afraid to speak up. Nobody wants to be victimized. And we know that corporate Bahamas is very toxic, right? And so God help the people who didn't have proper home training and a foundation at home, and come to work with ethics, right? So you would want to know, if you're answering this question, the definition for ethics, tone for the top, and exactly what are some of the challenges in institutions with, you know, all this diversity in culture, and how do you set a tone of training is important, AML, terrorism, all of this is important. How do you get your organization to adopt that attitude? Okay, and don't just feel like training is a bother and we don't have time for that. Okay, and then of course the MLRO job description. Of course, one of the problems is that they expect the MLRO to be anti-money laundering compliance, legal, corporate secretary. One is HR, you know, and most recently somebody in my class said, well, I'm the accountant, and they just said I'm the accountant / MLRO. Okay, so you want to make sure that there's proper segregation of duties, that the MLRO is not overwhelmed. They can be the compliance officer in MLRO, or they could be the anti-money laundering officer in MLRO. But when they are compliance, anti-money laundering, all of this, they'll be overwhelmed and they won't be able to make sure that the organization stays compliant. Okay, you don't need one man band and the secretary, you need a department depending on the number of customers you have. So metric are very important. How many customers you have, how many are high, medium, or low, what jurisdictions are we dealing with, and what have you. Okay, so that's important that MLRO does not wear too many hats. Okay. Any questions about culture and job
Yeah,
description?
Fuller,
Mhm.
Fuller. When you said culture and tone from the top, you're talking about management?
Yes, the tone from management. So if management tells you, Kendrick, man, we don't have time for no AML training, will you have time for AML training?
Nope.
They always bothering us. Do your work, Kendrick, finish that. You have to do that some other time. And if they keep putting it off, or if they say, listen, I know we're supposed to get 2 pieces of ID, but man, that's too much. Just get 1. Or let them bring it back. Or we try to call Miss Bullet and tell Miss Bullet our passport expire, but she ain't bring it in, so ain't nothing else we could do. Right? So that's, if we training people like that, then they don't take anti-money laundering seriously. Right?
That's right.
And one institution had 800 customers and they had 15,000 deficient documents. 15,000 of from 800 accounts. Passports were expired, company documents were missing, copies were distorted, you couldn't read it, copies were in different languages. It was a nightmare. That bank got shut down. 15,000. Okay, so you have to ensure that your staff is trained properly, and the tone from the top is that we take anti-money laundering seriously, we take policy and procedure seriously. We are going to send you to training, we're going to give you time off to study, we are going to enforce our policy and procedure. We give you time to read. 3 hours or a half day every month just to read on the changes or the policies and the procedures so you can keep abreast. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. So Julian, are we ready? Is this where Julian left? Okay, Miss Bullet, you're taking no exam, you know.
No, no, ma'am. I'm here.
Okay.
I was just trying to get back on. Let me see. Notes. Okay. So, I think my line was suspicious SDRs, monitoring systems in cooperation with authorities.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was a blitz on the mind to go through that, but let me see what I got here. Hopefully I'll hear after several of these, no points, but I tried. Okay, so all financial institutions are required by Bahamas FIU reporting regs to appoint an MLRO or similar compliance officers. That MLRO whom such suspicious transactions are reported to, and whom will prepare and disclose to either a law enforcement agency or the FIUs or regulators. The MLRO's main source of knowing clients is via the customer due diligence information, and anyone can also file STRs. Regarding complex transactions and company structures, these are some of the things. There's a list of some of the things that can trigger SDRs: complex transactions and company structures, transactions making no economic sense, funds being sent to high-risk jurisdictions, and an unnecessary routing of funds to third parties. Regarding cooperation with authorities, MLROs and the compliance department should establish good relationships with FIUs, regulatory bodies, and other law enforcement agencies. Now, these relationships regarding for monitoring purposes can also be fostered through systems and protocols such as having one point of contact for within the company or the financial institution. Two, one point of contact within that regulatory body or FIU. Formal logging processes and tracing requests. Designated times for audits and reviews of such requests by FIUs and other bodies on STRs. During these processes, companies must await receipt of consent before proceeding with any further transactions. Monitoring of systems can be held where banks or financial institutions have internal automated systems and clearing systems to generate alerts. If FIUs are pre-advised and consents are given regarding SDRs, the MLRO must avoid tipping off offenses. Even if FIUs do not give consents or issue restraining orders, the company must still avoid tipping off its clients or customers. According to the Bahamas, we move into cases or structures of cases. According to the Bahamas National Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Risk Assessment Summary, 2015-2016, the total number of fraud cases reported to law enforcement and FIUs for that period, and the period going as far back as 2011, was 2,747 cases. Further analysis of suspicious transactions received during that period, the Financial Intelligence Unit indicated that fraud, particularly internet fraud, posed one of the higher risks within our jurisdiction. One of the cases, one case I would put forward, not for that period, but which is recent. According to the Financial Times, an article in December 2022, Bahamian authorities were tipped off by top Bankman-Fried associates earlier that year. FTX executives told security regulators of cryptocurrency exchanges, or that the cryptocurrency exchange was likely funneling cash to Alameda Trading. One of Bankman-Fried's close associates told Bahamian regulators in the days before the FTX collapse that the now disgraced founder had likely funneled customers' monies to hedge funds and a move that helped accelerate the 30-year-old downfall. Ryan Salame, co-chief executive of FTX Bahamas operating entity, informed the country's Securities Commission on November 9th that FTX customers' funds had been used to cover losses at Alameda Research. This record is confirmed by Bahamian court documents. Another case, according to the Eyewitness News reports on the 26th of January 2022, highlights that men charged with fraud using RBC, or Royal Bank checks, granted bail. The case highlights that indicates that an RBDF officer was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud of the amount of $193,800. A 38-year-old man facing multiple charges of fraud in connection with over $575,000 had his bail set at $200,000 with two sureties during his arraignment yesterday. Prosecutors alleged that on December 13th of 2021, Gerardo Moss of Yamapo Road committed fraud when he allegedly used certain fraudulent documents and a Royal Bank of Canadian check in the account of $195,000 and withdrew the funds on a Sun Oil limited account. Another case, according to the Tribune News report, dated the 3rd of May 2021, speaks to Scotiabank being ordered to repay $27,000 taken from a ZNS news anchor. A top ZNS anchor has won damages from Scotiabank after it refused to reimburse her $27,500 in authorized transactions that were taken from her account. Militia Pinder, the anchor, stated that the Supreme Court upheld her claim for the bank's negligence in breach of its fiduciary duty relating to a series of withdrawals from her account that took place in 2015 and 2016. That's all I have for now, Mr. President.
Okay,
Three
good.
cases.
So very, very good with the cases. But my first question, how are unusual or suspicious transactions established?
How it is,
How are they established? Yeah, where do they come from? When you open an account,
mhm.
you create a profile, right?
Customer due diligence information or
Right,
the
KYC information.
KYC, yes, okay.
Yeah,
so I can
know
add
your
that more.
customer information. So based on that information, you create a profile. And once you go outside of that profile, it's deemed suspicious.
So that's the amounts that are being transferred, deposited regularly, withdrawn regularly, and if there's some alteration to that, there's some suspicion that
Correct.
arises. Okay.
Correct. Or if you come in and you said this account is for cryptocurrency, I'm going to have customers come in and deposit their money. And then you start to send in withdrawals for BMW or a trip to Miami, Edison Sumner. Right? So the
Yeah.
money was on the account, the transaction amounts were correct. So that was suspicious activity. So suspicious activity as well as suspicious transactions.
Suspicious
Okay.
activity as well as suspicious transactions. Roger.
Right. So remember, that's what you want to say, how you want to start off, but how a suspicious transaction is established. You go outside your profile that you created when you open the account.
Okay.
Okay. And the next thing with the cooperation, the key thing is that you want to cooperate, but again, like Julian said, only what you have authority for. So when you get your court orders, your production order, make sure that it lists, you only give everything that's listed. Okay. So if it says the transaction for 17,000 on July 21st, 2023, you don't give them the whole printout out for July. Okay, you only give them that transaction and that approval and whatever information, the transfer information the customer sent. You don't say this is the whole file, pick out what you want. Okay, because you still have a duty of confidentiality to your customer. Okay, and you want to make sure that no documentation or was obtained illegally. Okay, because they could win by a technicality. So confidentiality, but you want to cooperate. Okay, any questions for Julian? Okay, very good. Okay, Jalika, you're back?
Ms. Ballard.
Hi.
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, sorry. In reference to the STR, I know you were saying a while back when we did that particular section, you were saying that persons on the exam sometimes I guess they misinterpret the question as it relates to what exactly it's asking you to do. So you were saying, so you got to make sure you distinguish. I think the way you say it was worded, it was like almost like you given a definition of how SDRs, I guess, are filed, or I don't know exactly how the
Questions. That's when me and Julian
question.
talked about question 4 or 5, the last question on the homework. Yeah,
Yeah.
just because we started off with an SDR, everybody runs on about SDRs. But that question is about failing to disclose and confidentiality. So I'm just saying to read the question properly to make sure you understand what it's asking.
Also, it's typically about okay, but
Yeah, that particular question.
But how Julian started off in terms of the ML, talking about the MLRO and their function, and then their duty to handle suspicious. Yeah, I guess you could start it off with that, and then muzzle on into the segue into the actual.
If that's what the question asks. If
Okay.
they ask about, that would fall more under like the job description of the MLRO. He was just saying who was responsible and whatever. You don't have to go into full detail. But yes, read the question and answer what it asks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, good, very good. Jalika, would you have you prepared anything for culture and the MLRO?
Man, after listening to Julie, I feel like I did nothing. But for MLRO, the culture is when the MLRO works along with the rest of the bodies in terms of legal compliance, and one second. When they work with legal and compliance, and those is like risk management and human resources, they have to get along with them, and then regulate, put the rules in place, the regulations in place, and make sure it's functioning properly. The MLRO job is to report all suspicious transactions. They're also responsible for their staff being able to come to them, and the staff being confident that they would be cut, that the MLRO would practice confidentiality, that the MLRO is approachable. They don't disclose information in terms of who tipped them off on certain things. And when the MLRO gather all these informations, they are to report it to the FIU, who would in their turn report it to law enforcement. The main responsibilities of the MLROs, they are to receive the STRs, they are to evaluate, they are to also be able to analyze and know how to write a proper report. And that's it. That's just what I said.
Oh, okay, Jalika, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we did Eddie, so we just have Burton A, section 319 of the US Patriot Act.
Good night. The Patriot Act was a landmark act of the United States Congress, which was signed into law by President George W. Bush. Some of the main objectives of the Patriot Act was fighting against foreign official corruption, limiting activities of offshore banking centers, and policing the operations of multinational financial institutions. According to the Patriot Act, the US banks are also charged with a few tasks and duties, mainly being responsible for steps to identify the beneficial owners of accounts, whether account holders are foreign persons. They are also charged with identifying foreign persons whose funds must move through payable or correspondent banks that are held with the US banks. And the US banks are also responsible for applying enhanced due diligence for all foreign private banks, customers, and international correspondent relationships. According to the Patriot Act, there's a jurisdiction inside of the US as well as an extraterritorial criminal jurisdiction. The jurisdiction inside of the US courts extends over those persons committing any offense involving a financial institution that happens to be inside of the United States, whereas the extraterritorial criminal jurisdiction extends over any person outside of the United States who decides to engage in an act or commit an offense within the US. Section 319 of the Patriot Acts allows US courts to seize the funds of a US account if the funds are held for a non-US bank. So if a foreign or non-US bank has an intermediate bank within the United States, any restraining order or seizure or warrant in regard to those funds in the US institution can be held or seized in reference to the, sorry, my bad. If a foreign bank inside the United States has a intermediate bank, any funds, if the bank with, oh, good God, if the bank that's not in the United States is being investigated or funds are being seized, those funds inside the intermediate bank may be held, even if the funds doesn't have a relationship with the criminal activities in the outside bank. The Patriot Act also allows for court-appointed federal receivers in laundering terrorist financing cases. That's about it I have on that.
Okay, so excellent, Bertine. Again, a lot of people are afraid of this question, but everybody who answers that gets their full 10 points. So again, another question that I recommend. And if you want a case example, you can use the Julius Baer case. Julius Baer just closed down, I think in 2020 or 2019 in the Bahamas. And it was Julius Baer, Nassau, where they were committing fraud over some Venezuelan accounts. And the guy is now, Kroll, I think his name is, spending time in the United States. Okay, so that's a very
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you so much. Any questions for Bertine? No? Okay. Okay, and Sharinda again is in here. And if you get a customer due diligence question, it will again be a scenario question where you have to point out the red flags and perhaps say how you would risk rate a customer and explain why you consider it a red flag, or according to the Basel Committee, or according to, you know, central bank guidelines, and if you would carry out enhanced due diligence, what would you do? You know, stuff like that. So of course you would say, I would ask for source of wealth. I would have the board sign if it's a PEP or something related to PEPs and their disclosures. Okay.
Ms. Bullitt,
Yes.
just going back to risk rating, you were saying that a risk rating should include the nationality, the type of business, the jurisdiction, and what else you were saying?
Let's see the categories. Yeah, the various categories. You think Ms. Bullitt have all these things in her head, Eddie? Let me look it up.
I know it was
Let me see where to get this from. A drive. Okay. You look right now. Risk rating.
don't worry, staying far away from Russia. Eh?
Very good. Okay, here we go. Nationality, domicile, say nationality of the account holder, domicile, address of that account holder, nationality of the beneficial owner, domicile, address of the beneficial owner, profession, risky country, type of account, transactional activity, whether it's cash intensive, whether or not the relationship manager has met the beneficial owner, the PEP status, the value of the assets, and any other risk factors. And remember, we looked at this example of a risk rating right there where we saw, you know, if this was like a company, that's where holder 1 and holder 2 would be. And the company may have like an attorney act on its behalf, or an accountant. So you want where the company is registered, I forget, or the controlling person is what they call it. So if the company was registered in Bahamas, right? And okay, let's look at FTX. One of the companies was registered in the Bahamas. The controlling person would have been the CEO, but they could have had an accountant listed as the controlling person because it's normally senior official 1, senior official 2, and then the MLRO, and then the beneficial owner if it was like Sam Bankman-Fried or whomever. So that's where all of that information would go. Domicile, professional sector, business activity, country of work, type of account, operational, special risk, transactional activities, and at the bottom it should have asked like if you met the customer, yes or no. Okay, so they are the categories.
Let you go back up again, please.
Okay. Where it was listed. Y'all don't take the picture. These people things that Miss Bullet don't supposed to have. Okay, see it right there. Cat or up here, right here. Y'all don't take pictures of these people's stuff. Of course, Miss Bullet, of course, Julian, my name go across Julian desk. Okay, just a visual. But like I say, it's tailored to your institution. It depends on the products and services that you offer, because that's like a regular one for a bank. When we go back and we look at the methodology for a country, you see how they, quality of the framework, corruption and bribery, financial transparency, public transparency. And this is just how it's been for a few years. After they see company, most of the country is the mutual evaluation. They get all the countries up to date. They may drop this rate because it's no longer a risk. And they may, a lot of countries may have heavy bribery and corruption. So they may increase it there. So they have they can update their methodology and just advise the countries that their methodologies have been updated and they will be evaluating you based on a new methodology. Right? Okay, so that's why you have to keep current and look out for the changes. Okay, but the key is once you create this risk rating policy, your risk framework is threefold. So what you do is you send your risk rating, your risk assessment, and your risk appetite to the regulator. The regulator then approves it. And then you go from there. Okay, and if you make any changes, they call it a material change, and then you update the regulator that we have a material change. Before we used to just do savings and checking accounts. Now checks are gonna be eliminated. So we're gonna remove checks and replace it with debit cards. Or I hear a lot of people are talking about PayPal. I think Scotiabank is now creating a system for e-commerce. So of course, they will have to update their risk assessment. They will have to update their risk appetite, send it out to the regulators and say, these are the controls that we are going to have in place to protect against the risk associated with an e-commerce platform. Okay, and then the regulator approved that and say, okay, fine, you can now offer this service or put the systems in place and we'll come test the systems, and we'll give you the okay. Okay. Oh, sorry, Bria, question 1.
Yeah, so I read over the cases a little bit. I think I understand now the kind of detail. So I will get that out to everybody tomorrow, but I could still go over the cases that I had. You said at least 3 cases, right?
Right.
From local cases, I mean.
Correct.
Okay, so one of the techniques, this was a pretty recurring technique. invoices being agreed in excess of a contract without reasonable cause. So an example is the Hunter's Post Office on the island of Grand Bahama had renovations costing about $150,000. However, upon completion of the contract, residents and patrons were extremely disgruntled at the only visible change being a new coat of paint on the outside of the building. Windows had not been changed, the contractors had already received their contracts final payments with no discrepancies by the Ministry of Works. There's visible evidence of blatant corruption and bribery. Unfortunately, it is extremely difficult to find any investigations conducted on this incident to find out if any permanent secretary or supervisor was charged. But there was like a piece done on it, but it was more like opinionated. It wasn't really like it didn't give any conclusive charges on who actually was responsible. It didn't name names at all. But this
So if you
happened.
want full points, don't use that. Name names, we have to verify. You know what I mean?
It's
Fact check.
a factual case.
Yeah, but we could go to tribune242.com and verify that. It never went to court, right? Nobody was charged. Somebody got mad, right?
Well, it wasn't somebody, it was an entire community.
But was anybody arrested or charged? No, right?
I don't even know. I honestly still been looking all this time, but I
Okay,
haven't.
so that's why I say don't get a headache. You want to, for your personal use, you could research and follow that. But for the use of this final exam, you want actual cases with names that could be verified so that you could get full points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next case is unexplained wealth companies owned by persons without the financial means or income and actual wealth were unrealistic. In April 2016, MPs and senior rank public officials were required to submit disclosures of their assets or finances located in the Bahamas for full transparency to the public to reduce our CPI. Unfortunately, today, those who hadn't submitted back then have mainly been charged and acquitted of corruption. The article notes that the Public Disclosure Commission cannot charge but only write or request. The ultimate decision has to be made by the Attorney General, and given there was no report updating on the MP submissions or report of any charge being made against those who did not file, we can assume that the Public Disclosure Act is more than likely to please international regulating bodies or those providing statistical data that help
Remember, cases where people got charged with bribery or corruption.
So they got charged, but they got acquitted.
Who got charged? You said the Public Disclosure place cannot charge. You say they have to send it to the Attorney General. The Attorney General has to decide who's going to be charged. However, there's no update. So who was charged? You don't know.
I think one person was charged, but I have to go back to the article. It was a very long, in looking for that post office article, I found this one. But unexplained was kind of hard to find too.
And you don't know, you don't need to look for unexplained wealth, you need to look for corruption and bribery. Sheehan Gibson was charged with corruption and bribery. Kendrick Dorset was charged with extortion and bribery, I think. Frank Smith, Adrian Gibson, name some other people. With my good friend named Eddie, I don't forget.
Frank Smith?
No, my co-worker.
Elma Campbell, Michelle Reckley.
Right. And then my
Oh,
co-worker.
and the guy. Yeah.
Who don't get charged so much times, and he just so lucky, right, Eddie?
Yeah.
I can't remember we even watched it. We watched the video. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name right
I
now.
just-
Is
I
that
just-
Cox?
Yes, Hiram, my good
Hiram.
coworker.
Cox.
My good coworker. So there are real life local examples. Please don't get these cases that, you know, did not go to trial or court or there was no charge. You have to find one where there was a charge, whether they won or not, and just complete an overview of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Majority of the cases I reference in my, not even majority, all of those cases I reference in the first class. So I was trying to avoid referencing it again, but obviously that can have to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
And
fine.
Michelle
That's
Reckley,
cases.
and Michelle
I
Reckley,
also reference already. I just was tired talking about it.
But that was the whole point. That was the whole point of doing the homework.
Mhm.
So when it came time for the final exam, you didn't have so much research to do.
Yeah. I think Michelle Reckley is a good case because that involves a public official, because she was in charge of her renewal, and then
yeah.
she moved money to another company, awarded contracts to another company who she had an interest in, and who then transferred the money back to her. All type of, So I feel I think that's a good case because that, like I said, she was charged with that, and she used her position to award the contract to her friend or a cohort, and then he, I guess, bounce back or kick back certain monies to her. So yeah, that's a good case.
And,
well,
oh, go ahead, Gerardo.
Yeah, you also had the case surrounding with Adrian. And you also had Peter Quest. These were two notable persons, that is, more senior statesmen and statesmen in government who held prominent positions, who were brought before the courts, for abuse of authority.
What was the last one you called?
Peter Turnquest, Adrian Gibson.
Fred Ramsey.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, because Adrian Gibson was brought charged with 50 counts, right?
Yeah, accountant.
Also, a young lady from a maintenance company who had the contract got the money, then turned around, went to a local rental company. I think it's Hertz. I could be corrected. I have to confirm that. Bought 3 Kias, and then the Kias ended up to the rental company, I think down on Long Island. Allegedly, of course.
Of course. Okay. Very, very good, guys. Jalika, you have a question?
Oh, I had one more case.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I had one more case.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I see Jalika raised her hand. Okay, go ahead, Priya.
I don't know. Okay. Companies or transactions done in high jurisdictions or tax havens. Fahad Al-Rajan, former director of the Public Institution for Social Security in Kuwait, had his Bahamian assets frozen by the English High Court in an attempt to recover 850 million stolen from the citizens' pension funds. Al-Rajan has a great deal of assets in the Bahamas, as well as 60 million in cash, which have all been frozen by the World Court order granted by a Bahamian judge. The institutions, if they can prove that they did extensive due diligence on a PEP, especially from another country, are at risk of money laundering the funds, if he even kept them at any institution. However, Immigration and Customs should have flagged 60 million in cash at the time of entry and continued entry bringing in these assets. But with this, so basically what he did was stole it and then pretty much launder it to the Bahamas. So that was where that's why I said that if they can't prove that they did extensive due diligence.
But did he get charged with bribery and corruption?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, guys. So the key is, like I say, an overview of the 3 cases and then 3 examples. Okay? And then look at what the question is asking you. How can we ensure this doesn't happen in the Bahamas? What controls can we put in place to protect, our country from bribery and corruption, stuff like that. What is a challenge? And how do we maintain our corruption perception index? How do we maintain our bribery index of 81? Okay. Okay, so that's how we answer that question, and make sure you have enough to get the full points. Okay, but because it seems like everybody is comfortable with just getting 5 points here, 4 points there, or not answering all of the questions. There are 10 choices, but the 4 essays are required in 1 mandatory question, as well as multiple choice questions. Please don't do 5 essays, and we're only gonna mark the first 4 on the mandatory question. Okay, and no more than a page and a half. Only the mandatory question. We expect
I
2
know,
full
see?
pages. Sorry?
No, because you were saying only a page or a page and a half, but I was about to say, well, this first question alone look like it requiring at least 2 pages.
Yeah, so only for the mandatory question, that's 20 points.
So that's like at least a page. Let me put a page. At least a half of a page each case, and then the 3 cases, and then the 3 cases, 3 local cases, and then what could have been done to.
I mean, whatever it asks, I am just giving you an example.
Oh, okay, so it's not, it may not ask.
No,
what,
it may not be. I can't give you the question. I can't give you the real question, but I'm just saying, let's just
Okay.
think, about what else the question would ask.
Okay.
Okay. And so
But
if
I
you
look
have to scale it down to 2 and 2 and then whatever else is asked, then that's fine. But just make sure you have enough information in there.
Okay, so I'll get it out. I'll finish it by tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
And just look at one of the emails for the link and send it to the persons
Okay, no
from
problem.
Miguel, yeah. Or you can look at who I sent the review sheet to and just forward it on the document.
I think the review sheet would be more accurate with the amount of people in the class now.
Correct. Yeah, okay, so guys, how are we feeling? We feeling confident? We feel that we have enough information?
Nervous still.
Kendrick,
No.
you're nervous. No, Kendrick. Anybody else? Not you. Not you.
Yes, this mandatory question is the problem. What I think will make me nervous is the amount of time we have to answer it.
Yeah, but just gauge yourself. Remember, there were 7 essays in intro, so we said 20 minutes per question, but now there are only 5 essays in total, and so you could probably spend, I would say, 40 minutes to an hour on the mandatory question, and then divide the other 4 questions on the multiple choice of an hour and a half. So time yourself, gauge yourself, and write it out like 2 days before, so your hand will have enough rest, because there's a lot of writing. Write it out, and so you know that you make sense, because a lot of times people they don't make sense, or they get confused. So practice, that's how you get it. Practice. There's some of these, some people that be getting like 100% and 98% on the exam, and then some people getting 20%, and I just wonder what would happen. So we can't make it so easy for the scholars. We need to challenge them. Right? Okay, but like I say, from the feedback, and I was a bit disappointed tonight in the amount of people who weren't prepared, and because this is, like I say, I always say this, but this is a very intellectual class. Y'all are very intelligent, so I expect you all to be a little bit more disciplined. Because it's not that y'all don't know the material. I just don't think y'all took the time for this review class. Okay, but nevertheless, we got through it and we got a lot of good information. So please prepare for this exam. Okay, and don't, let it overwhelm you. Okay, but it's been a pleasure, and get some rest and feel good, and then get back up and study. And then, like I say, on the day of the exam is key that you're not overworked and overwhelmed. Okay, so I pray that you already arranged being off that day, and most of you have study leave. Okay, and if
Ms.
they,
Bullard,
yes,
yeah, my fear is now this being the last class. I mean, after the class, after we have done the exam, and hopefully all of us are successful, we don't have no FTX 2.0 to, keep us.
well, I'll see
I
y'all
don't
in
know.
ICA. I'll be right
Well,
there in ICA waiting on you.
An
That's the
ICA,
next step.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
The
your
next step.
yeah, that's your next step. So we all will meet again, and like I say, all of you are in my network, and I have your email address and y'all have mine. So we will leverage off each other and help each other and network together. Okay, so please don't stop the civic organizations. I'm not saying you have to go every week, but at least once per quarter. Attend the seminar. Please continue reading the newspaper and staying abreast of what's going on, and get your network together. Yeah, like I always say, there are 4 weekends. By now, all of you have been to intro, should be having one weekend where you are brainstorming. You have 5 like-minded persons around you, and y'all are thinking about how to save. What's your next step? How to make this money? How to keep it? And helping each other climb the corporate ladder. Okay, because Miss Bullet needs some hookups and some high positions, and y'all are the future leaders, and y'all who in there almost there. Okay, so
I still am. I still hoping to get my 100K. So
you will.
that's still on the table.
Eddie,
Dark credit card.
Eddie,
Huh?
you can have, hey, Eddie, if I only check with you once a year, I can check and tell. And I expect by year 3, year 4, you say, Miss Bullet, 200K, 200.
200K.
Yes.
Oh boy.
You will get that.
That's
You
some
will get that.
FTX. That's some FTX
We
money.
claiming that. Yeah, if
Ms. Bullet,
you only get it for a year and 14 months, 14 months, you get it. But you won't go into jail for it, Eddie. You won't go into jail for it. You won't go into jail.
Bullet,
Yes.
yeah, I can say for myself, personally, these last 12 weeks, it's definitely been a journey for me. It's definitely been me stepping out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I look forward to applying, what I would have learned, not only by you, but then also just listening to my fellow classmates. And, by hook or crook, listen, I'm going to pass that exam because like I told you, when I first would have introduced myself, working in a shift system for the last 15 years, I had to step out and, try to, do some things outside of my comfort zone. And working for the central bank, I know I have more to offer than, just from that law enforcement perspective. I understand that there's a great demand on, competent, proficient compliance officers. And I look forward to, throwing my horse in the race and applying what I've learned in this class. I can tell you, regardless of where I may place in the class, regardless of how I may do, I can personally say unequivocally that, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot.
Excellent. And that's all that we require of you. And like I said, Gerardo, you can do this. Once you put anything that you want to accomplish, you put your mind to it and you can do it. And let's just be proactive. I know everybody's schedule is busy, but I'm calling on Eddie. I'm calling on Kendrick. I'm calling on Julian. Y'all please stand with Gerardo and help him get to the next step. Okay, because he's not in the industry, but Julian has been with me long enough. Eddie has been, and Kendrick is in the industry, and these three gentlemen, that's our next Prime Minister, our next Attorney General, and our next head of the Defense Force. So
All right.
I asking them to hey, Julian, switch up. Julian, we getting your screen. Does that mean he left? Yes,
No,
I am. They in my network.
I just let Nettie know if he need a little something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right away.
I just need some groceries.
Hey,
Some
he said
groceries,
them
some
black
fresh,
cards. Hey,
fresh market
Eddie, we
groceries,
need two of them black cards, Eddie.
and yeah, too.
Right. So guys, please, y'all stand with Eddie and y'all study with him and make sure he gets this the first time, or I'll be calling y'all on the phone. I have y'all numbers and saying, you know, we need to work a little harder with him. So y'all be proactive, please, and work with Gerard, because it'll be a little bit more difficult for him because, you know, he is not in the industry. So please work with him. Okay, and Gerardo, you let me know if they don't answer your call, or if you have any problem with any of them. You let me know.
We have a great group, man. I know.
Okay, good.
You got a
Good.
great.
Good, excellent. And anybody else who needs help, just please put it in the group. And like I said, there are many scholars. Miss Bullet have to make this test a little harder, because them seeing trigger, you know, make me feel like, oh, this was too easy. This was too easy. It wasn't a challenge for them. Okay, so reach out and just ask for help. Okay. Okay, so like I said, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see all of you in ICA, hopefully, or if not ICA, it's not next step for you. Then just continue your education, and please ensure that we work on the culture in corporate Bahamas, that we take some of this, what is it, toxicity or whatever, that it's not toxic, and people don't hate coming to work. Okay, it's up to you as the senior members, when you get in position, to make sure that the culture is one conducive where people, nobody gonna like coming to work, but at least they come to work and they happy. Okay, and it takes all of us to be educated and work together to make sure that that happens. Okay.
Also to Ms. Butter, I like to also add my voice of big adding to what Gerardo and Kendrick and everyone else is saying in relation to this class. This has been very, very beneficial to me, and you know, I look forward to you know, using all the information that I acquired, and you know, in thus far towards the industry. But I also would like to encourage my colleagues to keep the group that we have, keep it open, and you know, let's continue to network between one another, even though the class is ending, but we still, you know, different opportunities, keep our Bin Laden network open. So, you know,
yes,
you know, because you know, you never know, because I've learned so much from this class, even when it comes down to stocks and all. I know is one person here was talking about shares in a company, you know, and giving investment advice. And you know, it's always good to have that network where you know you have certain things going on, and you say, hey guys, I have this job opening here, or I have this opportunity here. So we, as future compliance officers, we just don't want to just look at the industry, but also help one another out in other aspects. We might have, you know, certain access to certain information. And so I like to hope that everyone just, you know, stay connected, you know, and that we continue to, you know, be in contact, because you never know when a 100K job come across now, you know, one of us should be in a good position to get it, eh?
Eddie taking all us out for drinks when he get this 100,000, right?
Yeah.
As soon as he settled in, within the first quarter, all us having drinks on Eddie. He can afford it.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's been very beneficial. So we'll be watching. So hopefully, I know after this end, you know, we remain in contact. And then I thank you, Ms. Bullet, for everything. You've imparted a lot of knowledge, to us in this class, and it's been very, very beneficial to me, and I speak for my colleagues as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. It's a pleasure. And like I said, I'm happy. I'm always happy to build my network. And I mean, people that I thought like 5, 6 years ago, I send them an email and they respond, and I'm always pleased, and people always come back and ask me for assistance. So each one reach one, and we'll make a difference. Okay?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if there's nothing further, best of luck. Make me proud. I already have my smile on, and I get dressed up whilst I'm marking them papers because I have the party when I finish. Okay, so best of luck, and you all take care and be safe.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Miss
Okay.
Miss
Thank
Bullard,
you. Yes.
just confirming the exam is Tuesday and not Monday, right?
Yes, it's Tuesday. It's still January 31st, 6 to 9
Okay.
p.m. You go in person to the institute. Just
Okay.
Bria is in Freeport and Ashley. We have to make another arrangement for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So Bria and Ashley, you can expect an email from Miss Dean.
Oh, I had emailed Miss Dean already, but I didn't realize another person was
Yeah, but she's
from
not in Freeport. Yeah, she's not in Freeport, Bria.
who, Ashley?
Yeah, Ashley's not in Freeport. So just
Oh,
you.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you was saying okay. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I emailed her already, but I guess when we talk afterwards, I'll get some more advice from you too.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so Ashley, you'll probably hear from Miss Dean this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
If I don't hear from her by Wednesday, I'll probably try to give her a call maybe.
Right, right. Because
Okay.
sometimes she is very overwhelmed. So if
Yeah, I
you
understand.
give her a call, that would be great. Thank you so much for that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Good night. Hey,
Okay.
Eddie.
Good night, Kendrick. I'll see you soon.
Good night, everyone.
The
Good
next
luck.
step.
Eddie,
All right.
I
Yeah.
will stop you
Good night.
tomorrow. That toast
All right,
spot.
man.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
One more thing, Miss Bullard.
Yes.
We get to choose 4 out of 10 questions, you said?
Yes.
Okay, and the rest multiple choice and the mandatory question.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. Me and Bria waiting for you all to sign out so we can have a private conversation. Eddie and Brittany. Thank you. they even say they go on. All right, Bria, what's up?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to let you know. I actually did get the offer at First Caribbean.
Oh,
I just
excellent.
yes, thank you. And guess what? Good thing I did ask you for some advice, Miss Bullard. Almost verbatim what you had said was in the interview.
Oh.
So the manager was like, it's just a conversation. I was like, oh my God, Miss Bullard just say that last night. But yeah, I got the offer. They haven't all they do is they let me know that they chose me for the position, and then they wanted me to give in some documents so they can give me a start date. I noticed that the manager is on vacation now though, so I don't know if that's the reason why I haven't gotten the start date yet. But yeah, but just a lot being going on too. Which is why I was missing from class last week. I don't know if you remember, but my aunt who had the stroke, she ended up dying on the 31st of December. So I had to travel for her funeral, and that just
I know you already had something planned there because remember we was trying to strategically place the date.
Yeah, I was actually in Atlanta when my mom called me to let me know, because she was doing so good. Right after the conversation that I had with you, like a couple of days later, she ended up going to doctor's hospital for free because PMH didn't have the space. So she was doing so good. She was honestly about to come out of the hospital. Yeah, she was about to come out of the hospital and she was gonna be home. And then a couple of days after Christmas, they did like, it was like they couldn't get her off of oxygen and they couldn't figure out why. But yeah, that was why I was missing last week.
Oh, okay, yeah. So sorry about that, but God doesn't make any mistake, and He must have
No,
known
no,
how
no,
she was
no.
feeling inside, and
Yeah,
and God knows best. Sometimes we don't understand, but we just really have to trust Him, Bria. You
yeah,
know?
that's pretty much the only thing with being helping me out. And
Yeah,
then
prayer, prayer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And how old was she?
She was 58.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's very young. That's very
Yeah,
young. But sometimes you just feel a certain type of way inside, and you never know what's, her conversation between her and God. And so perhaps she
yeah.
was ready.
Yeah, I did tell my mommy it was for the best because she's not the type of person to be on no bed rest or whatever. She liked to be very independent. So for her
Yeah.
to come home and be 100%
And
dependent, couldn't even use the bathroom on her own, that would have killed her right there.
right, right. She probably would have fallen into a depression. So yeah, God didn't make no mistake. So we just have to trust Him. And I find that the only thing that helps, with this type of grief is prayer as well as time. And so every day you will find that it'll get easier to deal with. But try to just think about the good times that you had with her and the good memories and the love,
Yeah,
and hopefully that'll console you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It helps at times, but like you say, just the time.
Yeah, time every day it's gonna get easier every day, and you just remain focused and say, God, I know it is best, and just help me to cope because I know it is best.
Yeah,
He
that's
didn't take her by mistake.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
And the staying focused, as you
yeah.
can see, I do it too good with that.
Right. But there's nobody. You don't have like a little young niece or nephew who you could like just buy McDonald's for on a payday or give lunch money to help you.
No, no, it ain't really that with the help, It's just no, no, my daughter just I don't know what's going on with her today, but her daddy always just deal with her when I have class.
Fact. Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, but he was here. It's just that I don't know, she been clingy for the past couple of days.
okay,
But
okay.
she just was extremely cranky tonight. That was it. And then the last class that we had, she was not the last class that we had, the last class that I was at on the holiday, she was very cranky then too, which is why I had to leave early. But
Oh,
but
she isn't sick or anything, eh? You taking her
no,
temperature and she
yeah, no,
okay
she good.
otherwise. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, she good. She just when she's sleepy, she just is get miserable.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and it was around the time of the class start is a bedtime, but she just was running a little bit late today.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the only thing that was taken away from my focus really was, the death.
Right.
Um,
Right. I know this can't function. I know it's tough.
yeah. I couldn't even be too excited about like the job and stuff, but luckily I end up resigning. So I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, but now I just have a lot of free time. I feel like to think about it.
But you resign before you got a due date.
Yeah, but that was because honestly, God was telling me to resign from because I was working at a school.
Okay.
So pretty much on December 12th, God had told me to resign, but I told him I'm not resigning without a job offer at least.
Right.
So on December 21st, that was the last day that our office was open and we got off at 1 o'clock. At 3 o'clock on December 21st, the lady from CIBC, she emailed me to call her and I called her. She offered me a job and then she let me know that to give me the start date, they would need some documents. And I was like, wow, see what has happened when you don't be obedient. But
Mhm.
but yeah, after I found out, the guys, like I said, I was in Atlanta. So once I found out that my aunt had died, I know they wasn't gonna give me the time off to be there, to be in Nassau, because my mommy and my cousins, they still ain't doing that good. The only
Okay.
reason why my cousin probably distracted is because he's in Nassau right now. So I
Okay.
think I think he just distracted, but they really wasn't doing good. So I just really wanted to be there for them. And I already was having a problem with the job. Like I just not like nothing personal or nothing. I just was tired. I was extremely exhausted with being there, mentally burdened with being there. Like I say, it's a school. They was doing a lot of questionable stuff, in my opinion, on top of just treating the office staff completely with no regard. So I didn't really mind. I didn't really mind resigning
Yeah,
without
but
us.
you gotta live, so I mean, you have to make sure that your finances in order, but I mean, you needed that time anyway. So hopefully First Caribbean gives you a, a date, so hopefully they get you to come in Monday.
I honestly, I hoping that they tell me to come in on Thursday.
Okay,
I don't mind. But I had reached out to Miss Dean about the exam, and she said I could do it on the 28th or the
Okay.
4th of February. But after this class today, I'm thinking I should do it on the 4th of February
okay,
for a little bit more
time.
preparation.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but if you
I
need
don't
time, that's fine.
Yeah. I don't think I realized how much I was affected by my aunt passing away. But now that I back in Freeport, I starting to realize that it was affecting me a lot more than I thought initially.
Okay, but take some time. But then also, whilst you home these days, try to do one question at a time. Use this
Yeah.
time to study. You see what I mean? Because when you go on a new job, you could be overwhelmed reading in and trying to find out their policies and procedures and all of that. So use this time to study before you get overwhelmed with them.
Yeah, that's
Because a
exactly.
new job could be tough. It could be tough at first.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to stick to the 28th, but honestly, after this class, I think I need I think I need a little bit more preparation.
But see how you feel. See how you feel, and then just let Miss Dean know. But I wouldn't run it into the new job because that first week you could be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just have to pray that you get good trainers. But everywhere you go is a devil on the job. So
Oh yeah.
what I find is we say it all the time, you have to be the change that you want to see. And so
Yeah.
every day you have to wake up and go to work for the Lord, because you don't have to do nothing wrong. Somebody will be there to hate on you, to bring you down, so it's your mindset. I'm going to work this for me to make money and to increase my knowledge, move up the ladder, and that's it. If I have friends, that's a plus. If I don't, then it's fine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's definitely my last job. Honestly, I just was talking about that with somebody. I genuinely do not believe that I would ever experience anywhere else what I experienced there.
We pray that you don't, because I can tell you this corporate Bahamas, they vicious. They vicious and they uneducated. And so when they see you being promoted on the top of them, child, they'll kill you if they could. If murder
That's
wasn't a crime, a lot of people would have just been dead.
That's true.
Okay,
That is
that's how
true.
serious it is. But like I say, you can, I always say, I fear no evil because thou art written, right?
Right.
And everywhere I go, I pray for favor, and I go with my full armor of God. And like I say, all throughout my career, when I started off at Royal Bank, we were like a family, and people who are really cared. We went to church together. We had, functions together. Then the
Yeah.
management changed, and I thought this woman hated me, and she made me feel like I was the dumbest person in the world, and I always got things wrong, and that lasted for 3 years. And then for 5 years, I had another manager, and we just clicked, and we worked well, and I moved up. Then back to being hated. So sometimes you could be on the mountain, and sometimes you could be in the valley. You have to just
Yeah.
identify where you are, and thank
Right.
God for all the experience, because those 3 years,
Right.
I'm like, Lord, whatever I supposed to learn, let me learn it, and please move me from these people. So that's why it's good to work for a big company, because so you don't have to quit. When these people you're working out, you move and your job post and you go to another department. That's
Right,
the plus with working with a big company.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you could be fine, man. You could be fine. You could do well and learn a lot as much. And in each company, there's a historian and there's a knowledge person. Find that historian, find a knowledge person, because that's the person who will teach you and who will help you. You'll find
right,
other people who will not. They ain't gonna show you nothing because they think you come to take their job.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So spirit of discernment and you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for your encouragement and your advice. When is ICA gonna start? Because I definitely want to do
It
it on
started last week on the 14th. But I
what?
mean, yeah, it started. So you could speak. I mean, you could, if you want to do it, you could speak to Miss Dean.
Uh-huh.
But it's up to you, or you could enroll for the next session. So Miss
When
Dean
would
will have
the
all the information and let you know what's best.
the next session is next year, right?
Yeah, next year. Because we don't encourage persons to join in October, because then it'll be an overlap with AML and governance, risk, and compliance. And that could be too heavy. So we always encourage you to join at January.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
but what department you going in?
it's supposed to be customer service.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I trying to see, if I honestly what I was really waiting for was to get an official contract and be an official employee so I could give that information to Miss Dean and then let her do the discount that I might
Right.
get.
But let me tell you, you need to wait, because I think after probation or after a year, they give you up to $3,000 a year in school fees. And so once you could get them to approve they normally only is approved if you're in the compliance department. But wait till your benefits kick in, and so you could avoid paying the school fee
At all.
at all, right? So because you could do it over 2 years. So 1 year you get the first 3,000, the next year you get the next 3,000. But that's what Royal Bank's policy was. Ask Miss Dean when you speak to her if she knows CIBC policy in terms of school.
Okay, I'll definitely give her a call tomorrow
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, she'll know how they pay.
Right.
Right.
Because really and truly, I wanted to just jump straight in it, but now I thinking that I should get that experience in it so I could apply what I learned so far and then, come back into it a little bit stronger.
Right. And all of that will help you. All of that will make it clearer, and that'll help you. Because as you work, you will understand a lot of things that we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the practical and you will see.
And I just realized too, starting with a new job plus doing a whole pretty much diploma class would be a lot.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So next year for you. So learn as much
job.
as you can, and then, like I say, see what the benefit is when they give you the employee handbook. Flip straight to school fees and see what the school benefit is. But like I said, Miss Dean should know, exactly how CIBC is paid. So she could help you with that.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Miss Bullard.
Okay, Bria, take care. And you could always email me and we could speak.
Yeah, definitely. I just was about to say too, you'll probably hear from me a lot this week, especially how I missed the last class, and especially because this mandatory
Listen to the recording before you call me. Listen to the recording.
Okay. But definitely with answering this, doing the Egmont group review, I'll probably send that to you as well tomorrow, just to get some feedback on it. 20 points, I can't miss out on 20 points.
Okay, of course, you gotta get as much points as possible.
All righty.
Okay, all right, so take care and don't overthink it, you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, okay.